Hey there, I just want to do a massive hello and welcome to the High Vibe Healers podcast. If you would like to be interviewed, if you are a high vibe healer, a coach, or wellness practitioner in Australia or New Zealand, I will leave a link in the description or the caption of this video/podcast. And if you know anybody who would be perfect for the podcast, please feel free to share it with them. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe or rate and review us. It will really help us to grow and reach more healers in the ANZ area. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy this interview. So I would love to start. I just said thank you. Thank you for connecting with me and volunteering to be interviewed. It is fantastic. It's great to be making so many similar connections here in Australia. So thank you. And if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no
So,
problem.
a little bit about me. So, I did send you my bio,
Yeah,
right?
you did. Yeah, you did. That's for like the description and the captions and stuff.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. Well, my name is Niomi Reardon. I am 54 and I've been nursing since I turned 17. So
Brilliant.
I do all sorts of things. So yeah. And I've written a book. I'm an adventurer, so I don't sit still very long.
I love
And
sitting still.
one of my big passions is connecting mind, body, and health
Mhm.
together. So yeah, that's one of my big passions is trying to connect those two together and just helping to get rid of so many issues on this planet Earth that it all just come back to our nervous system. Mm.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that completely. I started learning about the mind body connection and how we can facilitate healing for ourselves after my stage 4 heart failure diagnosis. And it was just completely transformative for me. So I love what you do. Absolutely love it. And I know that you had a retreat recently. How did that go?
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I do retreats all the time. They're just one of the ways that you can bring everything in and you can bring people into a spot where we're excluded from the outside world and just completely focus on that internal and external health. So, yeah, they're
Oh, I
always
love
amazing.
that.
Hmm.
Fantastic. And whereabouts in Australia are you based?
So, I'm currently in Adelaide at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, but I do retreats in the Daintree, Queensland as well.
Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I, I remember reading that and I wasn't sure if you were based elsewhere and hosting retreats here because you know the way people go interstate for some of them. So, oh, that's great. You're actually local to me. So fantastic. That's great. I am such a huge fan of retreats and the space, the energetic space that it just creates for us to heal and to recover and maybe to learn or to grow, whatever the retreat focus is. And I think it is just fantastic. So I highly recommend anybody, if you haven't been in a retreat, go for it. And I'm sure Naomi would agree with me that they, the group energy can just, oh, what's the word? Facilitate the healing just exponentially, I think, just in my personal opinion. But yeah, I absolutely loved going on a retreat and I thought it was just fantastic. So I can't speak highly enough about them. Could you tell me a bit more about your book? I would love to hear more
Um,
about that.
yes, yeah. I usually carry a few copies, so I've got
Oh,
my
yeah, great.
copy there. You
Fantastic.
can buy it on Amazon or you can contact
Okay.
me to get one. But so the book is called, it's probably all backwards actually on Zoom. But the book's called Stress Solution, so it's got the word soul in it.
Mhm.
And one of the reasons I wrote it is because I have a coaching program and I got a bit sick of teaching the same things over and over again. But of course, they're always specific to a particular person. So now I can
Yeah.
say, "Oh, just go to chapter blah blah if you want to know more
Yeah.
information," and that saves me from doing the same thing because I get bored easily. So.
Yeah, but it also allows you, once they've read that, to go even deeper and just provide even bigger transformations for them. So that's great. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. So we'll include links for your being able to buy it on Amazon in the descriptions and captions as well. because I want
Perfect.
people to be able to find things easily that we talk about. So that would be great. I love that you have written a book. That's fantastic. I've written a few books for previous businesses and brands, and it can take a lot out of you. Did you find that the writing process just flowed naturally, or did it take a little while to get things on paper, so to speak?
Oh, I think once I'd decided and I already knew what I was going to do, I of course went on a book retreat and wrote and got it all
Oh, of
done
course.
pretty quickly. Yeah, because once you can meditate and focus on something, you can just get things done. So
Yeah.
yeah, retreat once again, a retreat.
Yeah, it just puts you in that flow state, which is quite magical, which I just love it. That's why I
Mm.
meditate so much, because I find it just helps me with creativity, with focus, with productivity, with everything. My goodness, if you don't meditate, you definitely should. Not you specifically, but anybody out there. So I was wondering, what is it that you have on offer at the minute? I know you've got your book, but you're running coaching programs.
Yeah, well, at the moment, my life is a little bit crazy. So I've got the retreat in March next year.
Mhm.
That's a go ahead. I'm just about to start taking bookings for that, even though
Fantastic.
March is a long way away. But
Yeah.
my life's a little bit tumultuous at the moment because my husband and I are about to rent our house out and go traveling. So I'll only
Oh
be
wow.
doing online coaching from then on,
Okay.
which I've never done a lot of before because
Oh
I
wow.
like to do walking sessions with people and being
Oh
outside.
wow. Okay.
So
That
yeah,
sounds
it'll be
amazing.
all new for me.
Oh, beautiful. I've only ever done online coaching.
Oh,
So I love the idea of in-person coaching as well.
yeah, yeah. My other thing I often do is day retreats, and run women's circles. But I've put all that on hold just for now because we're just looking for someone to rent our house out and everything's going to change. But
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Mm.
Could you tell me a bit more about women's circles? I am brand new to the idea of women's circles. I've never
Oh,
really heard of them
oh,
before.
they are the best. So just imagine that like the experience you get when you're on retreat, but
Hmm.
you take that and pop it into 2 hours a week.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
definitely
so
like
that
that.
yeah, so it's a place where it's a really sacred space. There's guidelines, so we all sit in a circle, and so
Hmm.
the guidelines are that there's no fixing anybody, so it's a true listening thing, and you get taught how to listen to understand, not listen to respond. So everybody gets to speak and is encouraged to speak. And if that the thought of that terrifies you, like I don't do public speaking, it's not planned. It's to see what comes out of your heart, what needs to come
Yeah.
out of you. Yeah, it's just a beautiful thing. And there's often themes. There might be a theme. If there is no theme, it's just let's just see what's on your heart today. And you might come to circle not even knowing what's on your heart. And you sit
Yeah.
down and listen. And there can be somebody that is crying the whole time because their time is miserable. But then there can also be somebody next to them celebrating and excited because their life is wonderful. And it's all okay that all that is all mixed together. You don't have to be sad because that person's sad or feel guilty because
Okay.
that person's happy. It's just a place of true authenticity and yeah, open-hearted compassionness. It's just, oh, they'll change your life. Circles are incredible.
Yeah, that sounds fab. Yeah, I would
Mm,
definitely like that. I need to look up some circles near me. That sounds fantastic.
mm,
Yeah, I love that idea. And I love the idea that you're in a safe space where someone can be sad and the next person can be celebrating and it's all accepted and nobody goes home feeling bad because comparison is the thief of joy. That is
mm,
yeah, it's so important. And I find that too with NLP coaching and NLP sessions that people come with preconceived ideas about what they want to release and what's going to come up. But once they are relaxed enough and you ask them, something totally different comes out and they're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. But it's so transformative and it helps you to get rid of that stuff that you may have been holding on to for decades without even realizing. And I love all of the different modalities that are available for us to heal. And it's just about learning more about them. I think that's why I started this series because I'm just so open to learning and understanding more about things I could try, things. And I know that if I've got the questions, there are so many other people, even coaches and fellow healers, that are like, oh, I've never actually explored that before. And they would be much more inclined to book a session for this or go find a women's circle near them, which is definitely something I'm going to look into after this. Yeah, it's fantastic. So what have you
Yeah.
got? So whereabouts are you planning on traveling? And are you going to be, I know you said switching to online coaching, but are you going to be limiting that while you travel and just enjoying the travel space? Or are you going to be trying to just keep up your practice as you go on the road?
Oh, it'll be very, very reduced coaching. So I'll only have specific clients. At the moment, I've just started running a 21-day nervous system reset, and that's just all on a little Facebook group, which is free,
Okay.
by the way, if you want to, if anybody wants to join. I'm doing a practice run to see how that goes.
Okay.
Because,
Sounds great.
yeah, because I won't talk about it too much because it's really complicated, but we won't be on the road, we'll be on the ocean. So
Oh,
it's all,
oh, wow. Okay.
yeah. So it's a lot different. And I don't know where and I don't know when. We've got to rent our house out and then everything will flow from there.
Yeah, yeah, just trust the process. Wow,
Yeah,
that technology will be interesting to figure out on the ocean. Wow.
exactly.
But
Mm,
yeah, that sounds fantastic. And it sounds like a great opportunity. And the nervous system reset, it probably will be midway by the time this is released. But I would
mhm.
definitely give that a go. Yeah, that sounds great. I'm just such a cheerleader for all of this. So like, yeah, no, I love it.
Me too, me too. Yes, my NLP training definitely changed my life and the way I look at things too. So
Mhm.
I've only done the base level because I always have in my head, I don't want to do advanced until I'm a perfectionist I'm not that I'm a
Right, okay.
perfectionist, but until I've done level one. So I just keep
Yeah,
going with that at the moment. And it seems
okay.
to be, yeah.
Yeah, the masters which I've just completed recently, it has a bit more expanded modalities and exercises that you can do with clients and different ways in which you can use them. I found it incredibly helpful. I actually did an intensive, which was a bit what's the word? Mind-boggling at the start. I had to watch it again. Because the use of hypnotic language and the ways in which we can rewire our brain, it's all incredibly complex, but also like, I totally understand that. I love it. It's just remembering everything. But yeah, I've absolutely loved becoming the NLP practitioner because I've been using NLP meditations for maybe 20 years now. I started my personal development journey when I was 18 in a bid to heal a lot of childhood wounds. And it's, I feel that the personal development journey, it never ends. It's just constantly unfolding before us. But the people that you meet along the way can be just like little guideposts. So like, oh yeah, I should go down here and this should be a part of my practice going forward because I think that it could unlock so many things and help to release so many things. So yeah, the NLP, a lot of people don't actually know what it means, but there's a really famous guy back in the UK who was practicing NLP on famous people. And he was always on the morning shows when I was a teenager. So I have been deep into NLP for a very long time. But I find that, yeah, people are like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, wow, you don't know? Okay, let's go.
So what's the name of that person?
Paul McKenna.
No, don't know him. I thought
Yeah,
maybe I
no,
might, but
no, people don't know him over here, but he's very famous back home. Yeah, do you
Mm.
know Uri Geller over here, the spoonbender?
Oh yeah, vaguely. Yeah.
People get them mixed up. It's like, no, that's
Oh,
a different thing. He was using a special kind of metal. It's not the same.
yeah, it is a complex thing, isn't it? When people say, oh, what's NLP? And you're like, well, how long have you got?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes, basically, I can help you to rewire your brain and just help you get there so much quicker than doing it alone. Because there are so many different exercises available. Like my background is in art therapy. Like there is even a world of exercises you can do with hand motions. whilst channeling a traumatic event that rewire your brain while you draw. There are so many amazing modalities in so many different sects.
Mm.
It's just so many options out there for people. It can probably be a bit overwhelming. If you're just getting into it and you're like, oh, I don't know where to start. And hopefully podcasts like this and interview series like this can help people to really deep dive, not just into what it is they'll be experiencing, but the people behind it and their motivations. So I would love to know what got you into the coaching aspect. Was it just a natural journey from being a nurse?
Yeah, good question. I think I'm a little bit like you. Like I'm on a permanent journey of self-discovery and
Hmm.
what are all the things out there. Like I didn't know that about the hand movements. And one of the things I've started integrating into the things I teach is eye movements. So
Yeah,
EMDR, like, just those funny things you can do. Like if you look up to the left and smile, it's easy. If you look down and to the right and try and smile, it's really hard. And
yeah,
that's because of the way, yeah, and just learning to move your eyes around with your eyes shut and to look up into your third eye and visualize the world, how that can change your meditation. Like there's just so many things. But in answer to your
yeah.
question, yeah, why did I get into coaching? I guess I had some amazing coaching sessions. And then I realized that when I'm working in a hospital, which I've cut right back now, I only do 2 days a week.
Okay.
But I'm looking at people that are sick and going, I know that I have a few techniques that are going to be incredible for you, but it's not actually ethical or legal in a hospital, so I can't do that. I can't even say to them, "Hey, I'm a coach," but I can advertise outside
Yeah,
and that way. But I just feel like there's so many people out there that are unwell that can be well, maybe not at the click of a finger, but just by understanding their nervous system and the prevention. Prevention is my big
yeah,
thing. Like, prevention is way better than cure. Let's just not get sick in the first place.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's what
Totally
brought
agree
me.
with that. But
Mm.
the problem is, well, for me anyway, people don't think about that until they actually get sick and they're like, ah, shit. I need
Uh-huh.
help. And also, I think just from my own hospital experience last year, you're not really in a headspace to experience coaching. I wasn't even offered therapy for the traumatic event that I experienced. And I think that a lot of people in hospital, if they're sick, they are just experiencing a high level of anxiety. Like, I don't know what's next. I don't know if I'm going to heal. I don't know how I'm going to heal. And it is getting them to a point where they're able to access you, not just physically and talk to you, but just emotionally, having the space to just allow a coach to come in and guide them through the next stages. So, how do you target those people just as a business in general? I'm just being pure nosy here, sorry.
Oh yeah, well, actually, I have to say it's something I'm actually really rubbish at.
Okay.
I'm not good at advertising at all. A lot of mine has been either through word of mouth, and the second way was I did work for somebody, so they got the clients, and then I
Right.
did the coaching, but I would give them 50% of my income. So financially, it was okay, but it wasn't really
Great. Yeah.
viable. When I coach, I mean, everyone can do it their own way, but I have some pre-questioning. And then after the session, I got home and I spent another hour summarizing everything and sending it to that person. So, yeah, so for me, didn't end up being viable, which is why I love retreats. And the other thing I'm really passionate about that I don't know if it will ever happen, but your experience in hospital
Mhm.
is you might have noticed that there's some nurses that are really good at listening and tuning into your needs, and there's others whose nervous systems are so dysregulated themselves that all they can do is give you your antibiotics, take your blood pressure, and they
Yeah.
get out of there. They've done the basics.
Yeah.
And I would really love for there to be like maybe some nurses with a badge that says, "Hey, I'm trauma informed," or "I can do Reiki," or
That would be
you know,
fantastic.
imagine that. But we just don't have the time. Like the system is to
Yeah,
get
of
your
course.
physicalness done. And if meanwhile you're full of trauma, like I don't know what was your trauma just because like may I ask you what your trauma was that you thought you needed therapy or
Because well, sorry, I nearly died from the stage 4 heart failure. I didn't have any heart problems at all or blocked arteries. I still don't. Before I came to Australia, But whenever I arrived in Australia, it would have been winter of 2022. I ended up getting a cold, an infection, a cold, an infection, a cold, an infection, a cold, an infection, all within 8 weeks. And they believe that the virus, the cold virus, actually attacked my heart. And then for 8 months, I just had no idea. I was knackered all the time, but I already had fibromyalgia, so I just put it down to that. And I like, God love her. I was like, maybe it's just because I've got a child in my life now that I'm just exhausted running around after, or maybe it's because I'm vegan. I was vegan for 15 years and ended up started eating meat again, trying to get energy that way. And it just so happened that I got another infection like in the March. And I went to the doctor and he was like, hey, your heart rate. I would like you to go to the hospital. And I was like, okay. And they thought I had pneumonia because I had fluid on my chest. And then that was on the Saturday. By the Thursday, I woke up feeling like I had been hit by a car. And I'd been hit by a car when I was a teenager, so I knew what that felt like. And I text my boyfriend. I was like, I think I need to go to the hospital. And he knows whenever I say something like I need to go to the doctors or I need to go to the hospital that I'm bad because I generally tend not to. I would avoid it because just I've had so many health issues in the past. I'm like, oh God, not again. Um, but this time, yeah, I went into the hospital and it turns out I had 12 kilos of fluid just on my organs. And my ejection output was 15%, and yet my heart was twice the size. And it was just, I was in the Lyle McEwen looking out at the birds because we were like on a level, we were in the middle of a tree. And I was watching these lorikeets and these rosellas, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And this doctor telling me, yeah, I'm really sorry to tell you, but you've got heart failure and it looks like it's at stage 4. And I was like, what did she say? What was that? So yeah, that was just complete trauma, not just for me, but for my partner as well. And my parents, obviously, because I had just emigrated here and I'm an only child. So it was, I had to be like, I'm okay. I promise I'm okay. And I handled it so much better than I thought. And I completely put that down to the personal development journey that I've been on for the past 20 odd years. But if you had asked me just before, like, if you had stage 4 heart failure and you were about to die, would you have a nervous breakdown? Absolutely, yes, but I didn't. I really didn't. And I handled it very well, and I continued to handle it very well, and I surprised myself. So it just went to prove to me again that all of the discipline that I have been building up over 20 years has worked. It has worked, and I'm the proof of the pudding. And yeah, I'm also the proof in the pudding for what you do. The mind and body connection is so important, so important. So, yeah, I felt at some point that I needed some kind of therapy, but I wasn't offered it. I didn't know how to navigate it, and I knew the wait times were absolutely massive here. So I started employing all of the art therapy techniques that I could, journaling, everything I remembered, all the modalities. I was just employing them, and they worked, and they continue to work. So yeah, I'm doing really well at the minute, which is great. Good news.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. What a story. Yeah. Fair enough. I think most illnesses come with some kind of, requirement for therapy, or that's when you end up with PTSD. And
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well, that's great that your training could come into use and you can
yeah.
practice it on yourself. I love that.
Yeah, but it's shocking though that that had to be the case because I have spoken to other people who are, because I would be considered a young heart failure survivor. I've spoken to other people who were offered therapy and did go to therapy, and we had the same kind of a situation. So I don't know what the case was. Maybe they just dropped the ball. But I have a fantastic nurse practitioner who I was seeing once every quarter, and now it's once a year. So yeah, I'm well looked after by the team here, which is great.
Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, quite often the those basics do get overlooked because they'll just make sure that your blood pressure's okay and then see you go home, sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. You're physically fine. Off you go. Yeah.
Mm, mm.
So I'm such
Wow.
a fan of what you do. Such a fan. Sorry, I feel like I've been speaking for ages there.
Oh no, not at
But
all. God, it's
it's a big
interesting.
story.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big story and it's hard to condense quickly. And
Mm.
that people usually want to know, like, what do you mean? What did what? I get that a lot because
Yeah.
they're like, oh my God, you're so young. It's like, yeah, no. And I totally put it down to nervous system deregulation completely because
Yeah.
um I had to just reveal everything about myself. Just my childhood was very traumatic. Um, and hence why I started the kind of personal development route at age 18 and more so like deep diving at about the age of 23 and it all down to just extreme anxiety. Would you consider yourself a highly sensitive person?
Oh, definitely. And I think it all comes back to repression. So we learn to repress, and that's probably why you didn't end up in hospital to the end, because the other thing I love to teach is the language of your soul. Your soul and your body was probably doing the, as they say, lots of little whispers to you, like, this isn't right, you shouldn't be this tired. But you just
Yeah,
repress it because you've had fibromyalgia. So you're like, oh, well, maybe this is normal. And you just go on and on and on, repressing
yeah,
things. Yeah. That's just such a that's part of our nervous system too. So like lesson one of learning your nervous system is all about and people will sometimes ask me, so if you could teach people just one thing, or what's the one thing? And my it's hard to describe, but basically it's called orientating or body scanning, and
yeah,
basically tuning into what's going on into your body. And that can be, I can take 2 hours to explain that, but it's other people will call it's a type of mindfulness, or it's a type of equanimity is another big
hmm
word to use. But being able to tune in and listen and go, okay, now that's annoying me. I don't have time now, but when I later on, I'm going to come back to that sensation or that feeling, and just try and figure out what that means. Should I be worried? Should I do something about it, or shall I just brush it off? But not brushing everything off and not realizing how important things are, because that's
yeah,
when things, what do they say? First of all, you get a little whisper, then they'll shout at you, and then they'll get a big hammer and bang you across the head. And that's what you got with
yeah.
your
And
stage
you'll
four
physically
heart
feel it.
rate.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic, and it's an excellent thing to recommend because I didn't get into that until after, whenever I was learning all about the body and the mind connection. And I started just asking myself, whenever I was in a meditative state, asking my higher self, should I say, the questions. And they're always yes, no, like trusting my sacral, like yes, no questions. And I could feel the yes over here and the no over here. It's like, do I need to get this scene too? Like, yes, girl, yes. So I always ask myself, yeah, because I find that we don't always trust our ego selves because of the repression and everything that we've experienced in our lives. And I love the fact that there are so many coaches out there and healers who are going to get us to the same result, but they have so many different backgrounds and backstories and reasons for doing what they do. So do you have one big reason behind what you do? What's your why?
My why? Yeah, I guess because I've experienced burnout because I started nursing when I was 17, like just
Okay.
17. I was super young, so I didn't really have much life experience, and I was just thrown
Yeah.
into, looking at dead bodies and bones sticking out of
Oh,
skin, all that, and I wasn't emotionally ready. And so the only way I could
yeah.
cope with that was I just shut it down. Like as soon as I put
Yeah.
my uniform on, I'm professional, nothing happens. But then I got really sick, but not never tell anybody I was sick. I was just always tired. And it's not till I look back, I go, oh my God, you could hardly get out of bed, girl.
Yeah.
But I just pushed on through. And then I realized that it's repression. And I ended up on blood pressure tablets, stomach ulcer tablets. I don't know what. That's right. I had extreme pain. So I was worried I was going to end up addicted to painkillers and like all these things. And then that's when I started discovering NLP. And I've always been on a spiritual kind of journey. Like my mum's a yoga teacher, so I was brought up with
Okay.
meditation. So I already had all that in my background. So it was already
Great.
kind of there, but it wasn't until I was just ridiculously always unwell that I
Yeah.
went, and it's that old metaphor of the frog in the hot pot, like do you know
Yeah.
that metaphor? Yeah. So the water's
Yeah.
getting hotter and hotter, and the frog doesn't really notice because it's just kind of in your norm. And then eventually the
Yeah.
frog dies. The frog actually
Yeah.
dies. It doesn't get out the water. And yeah, I guess I was that frog, but I got out the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I don't want other people to have to suffer that. And so a big part of writing this book wasn't just my clients. I did write it for people that care for other people. That was, yeah, because we often
Yeah,
don't look after ourselves as well
yeah,
as we look after, and we all do it, like whether you've got a cat or a partner, or we often will put them first, especially women. And I know that might be a bit sexist, but it does seem to be the way.
yeah. Just from personal experience of myself and also with family members and clients, I would agree with that. I think it it could be a bit sexist, but it's also part of our conditioning just as a society that the women are the caring, nurturing types. And it's almost as if we are trained to do that from a very young age, especially if you have brothers and sisters and you're like the eldest girl and you have to do all the looking after whenever um, they're growing up. So yeah, no, I can fully understand that. And it's so interesting that the majority of us healers and coaches and health practitioners, we do it because we've experienced the bad thing and we're like, please don't go there. We can help you. We can help it. So yeah, that's a fantastic why. And I think it's an excellent time to wrap up and just thank you again so much for this interview and for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been
It's been
great.
wonderful to get to know you.
You too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that wee chat. I would love for you to comment below and let me know what your biggest takeaway from this conversation was. It was an absolute joy, as always. If you are watching on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe and share with your friends. Similar, if you are listening as a podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast, please rate and review because it really helps us grow. Thank you so much for listening. See you next week.